Hello everyone, welcome to our podcast English Accents Around the World. Today we are going to talk about three very famous accents: the British accent, the American accent, and the Brazilian accent when speaking English.
And it is important to remember that every accent has a history. It's not just about pronunciation, but also about culture, identity, and social class.
Exactly. For example, Britain English developed in England, which as the center of the Britannic Empire for many centuries. Because of colonization, English separated many parts of the world and creating many different varieties.
American English also has a strong history background. It started with British colonization in North America, but over time it changed because of immigration, contact with other languages, and regional diversity.
And Brazilian English is different because the English is not our first language. Our accent is influenced by Portuguese, our native language, and by the way English is talked in Brazil.
First, what is an accent? An accent is the way people pronounce words depending on where they are from.
Exactly. Accent is not grammar, it's pronunciation, rhythm, stress, and intonation. If people speak the same language, can sound completely different.
English has many accents because it is spoken in many countries and also by people who learn it as second language.
That's why someone from Texas sounds different from someone from London, and both sound very different from Brazilians speaking English.
And thank goodness for that. Imagine everyone Saudi American.
Imagine everyone sounding like they're asking for tea every 5 minutes.
Now let's about talk the most elegant accent, Britain English.
Here we go again.
Many people think there is only one Britain accent, but actually trade money, so as London, Liverpool, Scotland, Cockney, and many others. One famous accent is called repeat pronunciation, repeat, also known as BBC English or King English.
It was also strongly connected to traditional schools like Oxford and Cambridge and to the British elite. Because of this, name people associate the accent people present power and the social status.
So basically, if someone sounded like that, people thought they were rich.
Exactly, and honest, sometimes they were.
Some pronunciations examples are water sounds like water and car sounds like sea. This happens because ripen is using a round accent, which means the phoneme R is often not pronounced. We another thing another vowel comes after it.
Unlike Americans, who actually pronounce the R.
Yes, but they pronounce silence with legends.
British English also uses words like color, scent of color, and century, is scent of century. Small different not only in the pronunciations, but also in the spelling and cultural identity.
Today, many British people prefer strong regional accents because they represent the local identity and not social backgrounds, not only formality.
Now let's talk about the American accent, also known as the accent everyone understands best.
That's a very bold and very incorrect statement.
American English began with British settlers arrived in North America in the 17th century. Over time, English changed because of the contact with Native American languages and also with immigrants from Germany, Spain, Italy, Africa, and many other places.
So, American English is basically British English with international influence?
Exactly, but improved.
Debatable.
In American English, the R sounds like it's stronger. For example, car sounds like car, and water often sounds like water. This is called a rhotic accent because the R is clearly pronounced.
This is also the accent many students learn first because of movies, music, and Netflix.
Exactly. Hollywood teaches English better than some schools.
Yes, if your dream is to sound like Spider-Man.
Better than sounding like Sherlock Holmes solving a mystery every time you ask for coffee.
At least to sound intelligent.
At least we sound awake.
Now, let's talk about the best accent. Brazilian English.
Honestly, Brazilian accents are iconic.
Very true. Very expressive and then very easy to recognize.
In Brazil, English is learned as foreign language, not as native language, because of its Portuguese strong influence and pronunciation. Some English sounds do not exist in Portuguese, especially in dit sounds. For example, many Brazilians say tree like tree or think like think.
And please, be careful with the word beach.
Yes, very careful.
I know. Also, Brazilians usually have a more musical intonation when speaking English, and that makes our accent very unique. Sometimes we also pronounce workant like workant, with an extensively like workant, because Portuguese influences our rhythm.
Honestly, I think Brazilian accents sound really friendly.
And great. Very young and expressive.
See? I win.
Accents show identity, culture, and history.
They also help understand where someone comes from, and the whole language changes over time.
Even an accent does not mean your English is bad. It means you brought your country with you. Many people worry too much about sounding perfect, but communication is more important than imitation.
The most important thing is communication, not sounding exactly like a native speaker.
Even sound Britain old be a lovely bonus.
Keep dreaming!
So, what accent is the best?
British, obviously, we sound intelligent.
American, obviously, we sound confident.
Brazilian, obviously, we sound fun.
Fine. Maybe we can agree on time.
What?
At least none of song Australia.
Now Australian is mad at used to.
Perfect. International conflict completed.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you learned something new about English accent and how pronunciation reflects culture, history, and identity.
And remember, every accent tells a story.
There is wrong accents, one different ways of speaking.
Unless you say water.
Unless you say car.
Goodbye, everyone.
See you next time.